Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I will be sharing 3 really fun thrift flips. These are all really fun little pieces that I found thrifting. So we're going to be updating those and there may or may not be a few little surprises along the way. Also, a huge thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. You can also find me on Instagram at Valerie Aguiar, where I share lots of fun and behind the scenes there too. So this video starts off at the thrift store, one of my favorite thrift stores. It's a little overpriced, but they usually have pretty good stuff and they always have sales. So this little wooden vintage stool caught my eye. It has a lot of character. The little legs on it are so cute. It's very old. I could just tell by the wood and the distressing. There is a little bit of stuff going on in the bottom, so we're going to take it apart and see what's going on, but I just couldn't pass it up, and I believe it was like 40% off or something. It was furniture day, so I got a decent deal on it. I must have missed this little handwritten note that was taped underneath it when I bought it, but I could not make out what it was. It has that beautiful classic handwriting though. My great grandmother used to write like that. My grandma still writes like that and it's so beautiful. I love that classic handwriting. So there were 4 screws in the bottom kind of holding everything together. I'm going to take those apart with my screwdriver. They were kind of rusted, so I'm definitely going to need to change those out because they just really weren't holding that well. So you can see that wood underneath there. It looks like there may be some type of water damage, hopefully not any mold or anything like that. So that's why I'm taking it apart, just to make sure that there's nothing going on. I also want to make sure that there's no like bugs or anything in there, so I would die. But yeah, I am going to take all of this apart on camera so you guys can kind of uncover this with me. I was very scared of what I was going to find. So as I'm taking this little note off with the tape on it, let me know in the comments below if you guys can make out what this is. I cannot even get a word. I am having a hard time reading. It's so faded, and just the writing, yeah, I'm not sure what it says, but let me know if you guys can see something. So whenever you are working on older furniture, you want to make sure you wear a respirator mask, just because you don't know what type of paint or stain is on the furniture piece, especially when you're sanding and removing things like that. It can be very dangerous for your lungs, so make sure you wear a mask. This is my new orbital sander by Heart, and I love this sander. It is my new favorite. Although I ran out of the sanding paper for this one, so I just used what I had in the garage. This is my older Milwaukee, but I basically just started out with an 80 grit, and the 80 grit sandpaper removes the wood or the paint, whatever is on there, and then it will get it down to that bare wood. And this doesn't take too long either. The hardest part is getting in the corners and those little curved edges. You kind of have to do those parts by hand, just because they're hard to reach. But other than that, it goes pretty fast. As I'm sanding, you can kind of start to see what that old wood looks like. And there's just a difference in old wood. It has that really like exposed grain, and it just looks so much prettier than like brand new wood. I don't know what it is about it, but it just looks so pretty when it's kind of aged like that. So the sandpaper that I used on the Milwaukee was a 120, and then I went ahead and finished it up with a 220 and back to my Heart orbital sander. I love how these just push on, and they're kind of like a Velcro almost. They're so nice and so easy to work with. That's why I love these ones so much. So I'm going to finish it up with the 220 sandpaper, and that takes any shards off. It makes it almost feel like polished. It makes the wood feel super soft and no splinters. And now to take this thing off, I was really afraid of what I was gonna find under here. I was like praying that there was no bugs gonna crawl out of here. I always take things apart and kind of go through them outside before I ever bring any type of thrifted piece into my home. So this really didn't look bad, although it looks really old. It looks like it kind of stayed outside or something possibly, but there was some lettering in there. Somebody had handwritten a name and an address. I don't know if you guys can see it. It had a name. I think it said like JF something, and then in the middle it said Los Angeles, California with the zip code. Yeah, it was probably the person who made that little bench. While I was at the thrift store, I also found this little rug. It was really cute. It said $8 on it. I don't think that that's what I paid for it. I think it was on sale, but it was just a really textural rug. I liked the colors, very neutral, but I also liked that it had kind of this checkered design on there, which is kind of trendy right now. So I was going to cut out this part of the rug and then use these little tack nails to secure that upholstery right on top. You can also use a staple gun if you have a thinner upholstery, but because it is a thicker rug, I had to use the tack nails. And for the corners, what I did is I just cut them pretty short and then tucked one side right underneath the other, and then just kind of tacked that other side closed. Once everything is tucked in, I can then secure it with a tack nail or 3. Also, you don't have to stress about what the underside looks like. It can be a little rough, but you can also put another piece of upholstery to cover up all your tack nails and make it look really clean. I don't really care since it's the underside, it's not really going to be seen anyway, but you can also trim up the edges as well, so it just looks a little bit more cleaned up. And that is me hammering that little nail in sideways. I had to pull that out and redo it because it was bothering me so bad, but it happens to the best of us. I wanted to take a second to talk about Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of online classes and members across 150 different countries. I always love to learn new skills, and growing in my business and hobbies is very important to me. Skillshare is one of my favorite places to get inspired and learn new things. Whether it may be photography, social media, gardening, interior design, there are thousands of classes to take and learn from. I love that I can even filter by knowledge level and save the classes I want to take in the future. All the classes are ad-free, so there's no interruptions, and there are new classes being launched every week. I've taken so many gardening courses this spring, and it's been so exciting watching all of my new knowledge work in the garden. Aside from all of the gardening courses that I've been taking, I have also been really loving interior design and styling your home with Emily Henderson. She has so many amazing tips and a ton of value in her courses. You can check out Skillshare in the description box below, and the first 1,000 people to use the link or my code below will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so make sure you check it out today. So this is what the top of the stool will look like. I love that it has 4 different patterns going on, but all in the same color family, very textural. It's very pretty, I like it. So I just had to secure that top piece back on with some new screws, and that is the stool. I can also add a protective layer of clear wax if I want to protect the bare wood, but I feel like the wood and the new upholstery really complement each other. I love that natural antiqued look. It is full of character and so cute. And on to the next thrift flip. So I found this in the game section at the thrift store. It was $8 for this wooden tic-tac-toe game. It was still in the box, although it had been used. I could tell once I opened it. But what I really liked about it is that it has a really good weight to it. So I definitely had to bring this home and see if I could update it. So once I opened it up, the game pieces are really hefty. I'm going to try to find it online to link it for you guys. So I had a really cute vision that I was thinking for this. So I was thinking of painting the wooden base in a satin black, not too glossy, but more of a satin. I felt like a matte black was too matte for me, so I wanted to go with a satin. You can also paint this by hand. I felt like it was hard to do this with the spray paint. If I had to do it over again, I would probably paint it with a brush or a roller, possibly both. And yeah, but the spray paint wasn't terrible. I just felt like it was a little bit difficult to get in those corners. And for those game pieces, so they are kind of like this goldish type color. And hindsight, I would probably just do 2 at a time or even 1 at a time, just because it gets a little intense trying to get all of them sprayed at the same time before it dries. So my plan was to spray them white first in the Satin Paint and Primer by Rust-Oleum. Then while they're still wet, go over them with this Krylon Marbleizing spray that I found online. I will link it below. So I just laid these down. You can also stand them up. Either way, you're gonna have some sort of back that you're gonna have to flip over eventually once they're dry. So once I got all of those little nooks and crannies with the white spray paint, I went in with the Marbleizing spray. It's almost like a spider webby silly string combination. It's actually really fun to use. You can test it too on like a box or something, just to get a feel for how it sprays and stuff. It's a little erratic, so like I said, it's kind of like silly string. It's really fun to use, and it comes in different colors as well. So I wanted these little game pieces to kind of have the look of a marble. It's not exactly a marble, it's kind of more a high contrast black and white. It resembles marble, but yeah, that was kind of the goal. It still turned out really cute and I'm really happy with it. If you really wanted to get into recreating like a real faux marble, you could research a little bit on some different marble veining and get your game pieces to look a little bit more marble or realistic that way. So with this Marbleizing spray, like I said, it almost comes out kind of spider webby, and it will have these little cobweb like things. So I just took a stick and would kind of break the web, and then it would make the paint fall back onto the game piece. So the more and more that I use this stuff, I realized I liked the less is more type of look. So I started to get a little bit better as time went on, and I realized I liked just a little bit of veining rather than it completely covered in veining. It's all preference. The O's are a little tricky to paint just because you have to get the center. So what I would do once I did the back, I would stand them up on the side and make sure that I got those back parts. So I let everything dry for at least about 4 to 6 hours just to make sure that everything dries. I also went over it with a clear matte spray just to make sure that everything is locked in, and this will be probably used a lot by my kids, so I didn't want it to get scuffed up. So I just put a clear matte spray paint over it, and I feel like it locked everything in. You can also do a clear matte spray paint on the base as well, but I feel like everything looks really cute together. It is a really good resemblance of a faux marble. It just looks a little bit more elegant, a little bit more classic, and fits right at home into my decor too. Moving on to the third thrift flip. So I found this guy at the thrift store. So pretty. I loved the lamp. I loved the shade. Had to have it. It was on sale. You guys, I got it for $1.80. Can you even believe it? $1, less than $2 for this lamp. I was in awe. And I noticed this at the thrift store, but I thought, I'll figure it out. Once you turn the lamp around, it has this blue and brown floral, who knows what on it. I don't know why they would put that on there. It was so pretty without it. Let me know in the comments below. Would you keep it the same, or would you change it up a little bit? I just couldn't with the flowers. So I'm gonna take it apart and see if we can make something really cute with it. So I really do like the lampshade. It's a little different. I don't feel like you really see that very often, but something was really pulling me to that lampshade. I really liked it. So I'm gonna keep the lampshade, give this a good cleaning, and I'm gonna figure something out. So looking at the paint that I had in the garage, I had a dove wing sample that I thought it is a warmer white, so I'm definitely going to be using that. And then I'm going to add a little bit of brown to it just because I want to warm it up a tiny bit more. So I'm just going to add a little hint of some brown, I think it's called burnt umber in there, and then mix it up with my paintbrush. So once I got the paint mix, and I'm just mixing this on a paper plate, you guys, nothing fancy at all. I'm going to add some baking soda. So I have never used the baking soda paint method before, but it is actually really cool. I regret not doing this prior. It's a really cool textural mix. I didn't exactly measure the baking soda. I just kind of poured it in and eyeballed it. I wanted it definitely like a paste, kind of a thicker consistency. So yeah, you can just keep adding paint or adding baking soda and kind of get the right consistency that you're looking for. But I wanted definitely more gritty type texture. Once I got everything mixed really well, I just put that directly on the lamp. I did 2 coats, so after the first coat, I let it dry completely, and then it was a little spotty too, so don't be alarmed. Second coat, it covered really, really well. So this was after the first coat, like I said, a little spotty, but the second coat really covers it up. This is the second coat going on, and then after the second coat, I'm going to let it dry completely, and it does dry pretty fast. I would say it was completely dry within an hour or so. Once it was completely dry, I took it outside. I grabbed some 220 sandpaper, which is very fine sandpaper. You definitely don't want to take some low grit sandpaper onto this, but a 220 worked really well, and I just sanded it really well. The higher spots, got it really, really smooth. Anything that looks kind of lumpy or bumpy, I just went ahead and sanded it all, and it makes it look like a plaster finish. It looks so pretty. I love the detail on this lamp. You can still see those really pretty kind of pottery like ridges in there, and they really start to show through underneath that plaster like finish as I kept sanding it. So I am very happy with how this turned out. I almost feel like it needed a more muted base with such a pretty detailed lampshade. It's so textural, really pretty color, so I feel like it really toned it down. Let me know in the comments below if you will be trying any of these fun techniques. And with that, thank you so much for watching. See you guys next time.